2023. Jen, would you, oh, you got it? Okay,
Gotcha.
got it. Good, thank you so much. 5:46 February 15th, 2023, and I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Katuitt Fire District's Board of Water Commissioners to order. We have Commissioner Mark Robinson as well as Tom Hoppenstead present. Commissioner Horsley probably will be joining shortly. We also have Office Manager Nash, Superintendent Wiseman, and Operator Gallagher here from the Water Department. So we've got a good host of colleagues here. Thanks for everybody that's joined. First order of business is always public comment. Does anybody have any public comment? Oh, and there's Scott Horsley coming in. Is there any public comment?
Mr. Chair, I did invite Brett Dykeman to join us. I don't know if he wants to speak now or wait until we see if we have time under new business, but I said that he should bring his idea to us, and I don't know when you feel is a good time.
I heard somebody say something about how there's a lot on the plate, so why don't we save it until later?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We do have a lot going on with the budget and evaluations. So thanks for joining us, Brett, and we'll try to get you in. We also have some time constraints that commissioners have. So we'll probably be trying to get done by 7, but we'll see how it goes. Jen, I don't see the agenda up here, but it's usually minutes first.
Yep.
Did everybody, all the commissioners, have a chance to look at the last meeting minutes? And if so, I'd entertain a motion to approve. Or
Yeah, I've read them. Look fine to me. I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I would second that.
okay, any discussion on those minutes? All in favor? Motion's been made to approve the January, what was that, 18th regular meeting minutes, and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Those minutes have been approved. Thank you so much. I'll come down to the office tomorrow, Jen.
Great. Thank you.
We're going to skip over the water quality report and the superintendent's report for now, unless one of the other commissioners has some specific questions regarding those. So we'll defer those till either later tonight or this evening or our next meeting. Okay. Right now I'm seeing an agreement between Katuitt Water.
So source water protection is next on the agenda.
Source water protection next on the agenda. Thank you so much. So we approved phase 1 and are entering into phase 2, and I'm assuming that this next document is regarding phase 2 of the study.
That is correct.
Perfect.
I did sign that. It was approved, I believe, at the last meeting to go ahead with phase 2.
Yep.
I will tell you a little update. Tom did come over and we did open up those wells behind the water department, and he measured them all. Had to do a little bit of work on them, but we took care of that. And today they started, the town surveyors came over and started doing some legwork and shooting some levels and stuff like that, I guess, just to see what they had to do to start that aspect of the project. We also went over and marked out where we want to put the test wells. The 2 that we had talked about, one over on Mariners Circle and one over on Newtown Road on our property. So we did mark out those so Desmond could go out and look at them and give us an estimate. One of them we happened to put on top of the water main over on Mariners Circle, so we got to move it a little away from it. Yeah.
Careful of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Chairman, just one question. Chris, thanks for that update. I haven't had a chance to talk to Tom. What about I know at the last meeting, there was a question raised about whether or not that Mariners Circle Road was a public or private way. Has that been resolved?
Yes, it's public. I looked it up.
Okay.
It's-
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Commissioner Robinson, have you got any questions on phase 2 here?
It looks good. I did bring up the fact that putting the wells up the riverbed is on town Concom land, so I'm assuming our consultant will confer with them unless you guys have. Chris?
We have not. I think what he had said to me was that you were gonna talk to Darcy or somebody over there, he thought, and if not, he would definitely get over there and talk to somebody.
You want me to talk to
Okay,
him? Mark, you want me
I'll
to
talk to him about that. We'll see.
Okay.
One of us will make the contact.
And I can give Darcy, I'm fine giving Darcy a call too.
Okay,
Why don't I reach out to her tomorrow?
great.
Just put a bug in her ear and let her know. I'm gonna somewhere write myself a note here. Okay, I don't know if now is the time to bring up the proposed article for the annual meeting, which would help fund the source water protection plan implementation or not. We can either do that as new business or we can do that now because it's directly related. So
I
I
think
put
it makes-
together. What's that, Scott?
I'm sorry, Tom, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think it makes sense to talk about it now with this. Yes, good idea.
Yes. So I don't know if Mark and Scott have had time to look at this. If not, it's just a one-page article establishing a stabilization fund, which would be supported by monies that we collect that are in excess of our operations management salaries, health insurance, et cetera. Which, as our enabling legislation and state statute stipulates, we cannot make a profit. So we have to either spend that money on something like this, or we have to reduce the rates and give the money back to ratepayers. So why don't you guys take a look at that if you haven't had time, or if you've had time, go ahead and give some comments.
Tom, I have a question. I think, first of all, I think this is a great idea. It makes a lot of sense. How, do we know how long the money can stay in the stabilization fund before it gets spent?
It's indefinite. Once
Okay.
a
Because
stabilization,
it may be a year or two before these systems get designed and permitted. So I just want to make sure it wasn't something that had to happen within the same fiscal year. That's great. And, my thought is, even if we don't go this direction, the other direction likely is a treatment plant. And we're going to need all this and more for that. So I
yeah.
think that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I mean, originally we had said we wanted to target 25% of the zone 2 properties, and that we figured that was like 10 houses at 30 grand a piece. So, that's a lot less than a treatment plant, and quite frankly, and I think we've been talking about this for a couple of years now. Treatment plants are great, but you haven't dealt with the problem.
Yep.
And that's what we're trying to do with here. So,
I think
okay.
This is great. Do we need a motion on this? Tom?
Yeah, we will. And then I'll need to bring it to Prudential and share the thoughts with them, as well as the policy subcommittee and the bylaws subcommittee. And then it would go to Attorney Boudreau for his perusal to make sure that we've got all the T's and I's crossed and dotted, and
Yeah.
then move it into an article for the district to consider.
Would you like a motion now?
Mark, have you had an opportunity?
Well, you can make a motion. I still want to discuss it.
Yes.
I move that we approve this and get it before the Prudential Committee.
A
So
second.
motion's been moved and seconded to establish a stabilization fund that would utilize monies from water receipts to to fund projects that are part and parcel to the source water protection plan for the water department. Let's have some additional discussion.
Mr. Chair, number one, in the second paragraph, there's a typo. Monies should be plural, not possessive, MONIES. But
Got it.
I think that in general, obviously this is a good
Right.
idea. We need to make sure that these excess revenues are applied towards water quality. My question or concern is that this may be too limiting. I mean, why wouldn't the stabilization fund fund other water quality projects such as treatment plants, filters, whatever else needed to be thought of it now or in the future? In other words, this may be a lot of money for too narrow a scope, especially if it's something that's going to be running indefinitely, and if we're going to continue to rack up these excesses. So that would be my concern, that it's just too narrow.
Okay, I think it does allow for, because as if you look at the first paragraph, which is kind of the purpose towards the end, it identifies septic, alternative waste systems, wastewater systems, stormwater, et cetera, subsurface reactive barriers, as well as other innovations and improvements designed to mitigate water quality issues before they compromise the quality of the water on which the district depends. So I think that, to me, when I put that in, that was going to cover if we had to do individual treatment plants at individual stations or larger treatment plants, whatever.
Why avoid the term treatment plant?
Well, we could put that in.
I mean, I'm not a great fan of treatment plants.
Yeah.
I think they're way too expensive for too small a district. But I just think that politically, I think it would be more acceptable if it was broader as well. So
Yeah, I think
we want to do this plus, I guess is what I'm saying. And I don't think we should be disingenuous and ignore the term treatment plant. If we have to start putting money away for a $20 million treatment plant, the time to start is now. We may do all of these good things for everybody upstream of the wells and still be forced to do a treatment plant at some point. So we're going to need matching funds if the state has any, grants and things. We're going to need matching funds. So it seems to me that this would be the place to look for it.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm done.
I was going to say, I think that's a really good point. I'm comfortable supporting that amendment, however we wordsmith it. And we do have an English major who I'm sure can come up with some great wording to get that in here.
I think it's just adding the word treatment plant to the list in paragraph 1.
Okay. And the other thing I was going to mention is, and Chris, maybe you were going to come back to this with your superintendent's report, but I'm hearing that this EPA PFAS rule is likely to happen, maybe even within the next 30 days. And that if that does go through, and if we exceed the number, whatever that's going to be, we'll have 2 years to deal with it with a treatment plant or something. That's kind of what I heard at a meeting earlier today. And Chris, I don't know if you have any other information on that, but I think that goes to the treatment plant issue pretty significantly.
I had not heard that yet, that it's that quick, and I'd like to get the information if you got it.
Yeah, well, I hate to contribute to hearsay. I haven't seen it, but I did hear it from a reputable source earlier in another meeting today. I haven't had a chance to. We can probably ask Tom Cambereri. I'm sure he tracks this stuff pretty closely, but certainly it's coming fairly soon. And I'll try to find out, Chris, and send it your way tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. I just wonder also with this document, are you not talking, if you make it broad enough that if something happened to one of the stations, we had to rebuild a station or get new motors, anything like that, could something like that be put in this too? So we wouldn't be asking for extra, I guess I want to say, like when we buy a new truck. I don't want to put that in there, but something like tank maintenance, even like we had to paint one of the tanks if something happened. That could be quite expensive down the line too. That could be close up to $900,000 just to paint a tank inside and out.
I think, Chris, my thought was that our original stabilization fund that I set up with Dawn and
Yep.
Mark back in 2019 would handle stuff like that. And this one would be more for water quality and specifically targeted at water quality work.
All right, yeah. I get it. And I was just wondering if this was too done, but I understand what you're saying. And I don't know what the profit margin is either. I mean, I don't know what every receipt equals to what is actually owed up there. You know, I don't know how much it is to pay for the tanks that we have there now. I don't know, you know, those payments that are going to be due every year and everything else.
So
That-
maybe that makes another distinction, it seems to me. We already have a stabilization fund. We should call this something different, maybe call it the Water Quality Stabilization Fund, just to distinguish it from the existing stabilization fund. And I guess the legal question is, how many stabilization funds can you have in one district?
You can have as many as you want.
Okay, so let's call it something different though, so people aren't confused.
So I think I tried to do that with the district source water protection plan stabilization fund, but we could make that clearer
Where do you say that?
on top paragraph.
No, but the first time you're introducing it, you call it a stabilization fund. Let's call it the source water protection.
No, call it water,
Stabilization Fund.
water quality stabilization fund. 'Cause
Yeah.
then it'll cover source water and treatment.
Yeah.
Because technically treatment really isn't source water. It's sort of
Right.
the other option.
Right.
So let's call it the water quality stabilization fund, and then insert, water treatment at an appropriate location.
Okay.
Maybe,
All right.
maybe at the end of the second sentence, you could say, upstream of the district's water extraction wells, or for water treatment at the wellhead, I think is the right term. Or just water treatment, period.
I think water treatment, because you're not going to be right at the wellhead doing it. It would have
Okay,
to-
right,
but-
right. So just add and/or water treatment at the end of the second sentence, and then change insert water quality right before the first stabilization fund at the top there. Might do it. Does that sound easy fix?
And I think I would have to broaden the word upstream. We all here know what that means, but I don't think the public would. I think you need to say projects that could affect any of the district's wells, affect the quality of any of the district's water supply.
Okay, I'm just looking at this here. Implementation for projects that could impact water
Influence,
quality.
Sure.
I might be getting too general. I mean, then you can start thinking about, well, is the water commission trying to wade into the quality of the water in the bays and estuaries?
No, we're talking about the water supply.
Right.
The next sentence about projects may be on private lands, I think you'd have to say with permission.
Yeah, I mean, that goes without saying, doesn't it?
Well, no, it doesn't. I mean, you have to think like a voter opposed to this, Tom. I think it doesn't go without saying. You're taking my land to do a project? What? I mean, we're talking about people who want to cooperate with us to put in innovative systems.
Well,
We're not gonna put one in there on their property without their permission. I'm
Obviously,
not.
you can't.
Right. So why not just say it?
do we have time to come back with another draft on this, or do we try to finish it today? Now,
Well, we could certainly come back with another draft. It's the first time you've seen it.
we have time before you go to the credential
Yeah.
of it. Okay. Why
I
don't we
mean,
do that? I mean, it's
I
Oh,
something
could,
that-
Tom,
I've written
I'm
some
sorry.
notes down here, but I mean, a motion's been made and seconded to adopt
Right.
this article and move it forward.
Well, that was for the basis of discussion. I wanted to discuss it.
Yeah.
That's why I seconded it.
As
I do see that you're calling it the Source Water Protection Stabilization Fund down below in the third paragraph. So is that what you want to call it? We could call it that in the first paragraph.
I think we should call it Water Quality Stabilization Fund.
Yeah.
So it needs a
I think
few
we
edits.
decided that. So let's just make it consistent.
Let me withdraw my motion and make a second motion. Or just a suggestion that, Mark, would you mind taking a crack at this with some edits? I think you got the right ideas. And we take it
Sure.
up next meeting.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to miss, other places that need to weigh in on it before May. But if we needed to meet sooner than in 30 days from now, we could, right?
we certainly could.
Uh,
I mean, I'm happy to do it
So-
now. That's up to you guys.
No, I think we need to move forward with the budget items. I'm not gonna spend a lot more time on this.
Okay.
So was the motion withdrawn?
Yes.
Okay, the motion that was made to accept the article for stabilization fund for water quality work has been withdrawn. We will take this up at our next meeting after some edits. How's that?
that sounds good.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good. So good in concept. Just need some wordsmithing. I think that works. Okay, what's next there, Ms. Nash?
Next is
Portable
the
access.
portable access to drinking water proposal.
I guess that's me. So since our last meeting, I indicated I did meet with the Prudential Committee. Fran was nice enough to put me on immediately. They met a few days after I submitted this to the Prudential Committee. So I have adapted it a little bit before I went on vacation. But I think it's really just at the last pages where I tried to put a little more analysis and background. And the whole idea is that we're not losing revenue. This is intended to be revenue neutral, unless and until we see that there is some elastic demand at the high end. And so it's based on the principle that everybody who is a resident and water user in Katuitt is entitled to a minimum amount, and that they shouldn't have to pay for that. They're already paying district taxes. They're already paying for their meter fees, and some small amount to help a family through the year would be cost-free, and the revenues lost from that first tier under 20,000 gallons would be made up on the higher tiers. So that's the idea. And I've added some questions and answers here at the very end, trying to show that demand is more related to drought, as we've talked about, and not yet affected by the rate increases that we've had. And that it's very interesting to see. The COVID year really does stick out to me. But what's not shown here, and maybe another page, I hate to keep making this longer and longer, but the seasonality of the pumping, which goes directly to irrigation. I did get questions and comments at the Prudential Committee, and they seem to be on the track of that. This was again aimed at curtailing irrigation using the public water supply, and I tried to indicate that that may be a side effect. We haven't seen it yet, but maybe a side effect, but it's not the intent. The intent is really based on a philosophical principle that people have access to clean water, and that's what this district provides, is clean water. Anybody can put a well in their backyard, but it may not be potable water. We're the only ones that can provide a steady source of potable water for people in the district, and that they should have access to that water, a minimum amount that they shouldn't have to pay for. Another comment was that this may encourage wasting of the water if it's considered free. I don't believe anybody in this district purposely wastes water, and if they do, they'll exceed the 20,000 gallon mark very quickly. So that doesn't concern me either. And I think I'll stop there, but I think the next thing is to invite more public comment. We can do that. I did have an arrangement with the Civic Association to see if we could encourage them to have some kind of a forum about it. They don't have anything immediately upcoming, but they said they could provide a Zoom link if we would like to do it that way. So, any comments?
I'd like to revisit our last meeting a little bit, and a comment that that Mark Stramberg made to us regarding whether or not we know that if we raise those rates again, that we are indeed going to cover the cost of making the water free for the first 20,000 gallons. And I like the idea of establishing a rate increase first and seeing, because we're still kind of early on our last rate increase. We don't know if it's going to make a difference. And now we're going to increase the rates again. And if we hit them too hard, we're not going to have any money for a water quality stabilization fund, because we're not going to make any profit. And we're going to be going back to taxpayers and looking to pay for water and our water department, not only with revenues from water, but with tax dollars. So I'm concerned about that.
All we have is the information that we are sharing here on the screen, showing that we've quadrupled the amount of revenue coming in through the excess water use because of the initial rate hike. And it really hasn't. And then if you show the water pumping, it hasn't affected that either. So all we've done is generate huge increases in revenue with essentially the flat demand for water, except for the COVID year. So I'm not concerned that we're going to lose revenue from this. And if we do, it means people are conserving water through irrigation. That's a good thing. Well, I'm happy to listen to other comments.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I'll provide my reaction to this, and I'm supportive of this idea. I think it's a really interesting idea. Mark, I don't recall. Do you know if anybody has done this yet? Is there a
No, nobody that I know has done it. I think I mentioned the last meeting and to the Prudential Committee that there are a number of cities that are shifting costs, doing and using means testing to provide subsidies for poor people who can't afford water. I don't want to get into means testing. I don't think that's fair to the administrative staff of this district. Everybody will share equally in this $80 a year savings. The rich and the poor, the high users and the low. But the high users of water will be making it up on the back end.
Well, I guess my thought is, I think this is worth bringing to a public discussion. I think it's an interesting, out of the box thought that, and I think we need a lot more of those things to make the world operate better. What we're doing now does not work. We have all kinds of problems. So we need new ideas. And I think we're on a good track here in terms of the revenue increases, because I think it's fair to say we will need more money in the future for either source water protection or treatment, as we were just talking. So I think we're on the right track. But I think this idea of providing no cost water at a minimum rate as another benefit of our rate structure is a really intriguing idea. So I would be supportive of bringing it to the next step of a public hearing and discussion.
Right. Do we want to make a motion for that, or do you want to just take it to the Civic Association? I don't think we need a motion for that. I think we've already made it clear that we like the concept. We have some concerns, but the concept's good. It's solid. It maintains equitability across all the user groups, like you said. Everybody benefits from it, and you can't implement a regulation that is not equitable and fair. That's against the statutes. It's against the law. So I think we've done a good job putting this together. So what's the next step? Is it with a meeting with the Civic Association? Do we need a motion to move forward with this to flesh it out and
Yeah,
see what people feel?
Yeah, and I again, there's no rush, although I think it does enter into, I mentioned to the Prudential Committee, we'd like to have it ready for the next fiscal year. The district treasurer said that if it is revenue neutral as intended, it should not be affecting the budget. So again, this concern about loss of revenue because people are going to stop using water.
I don't know that they're going to stop using water, Mark. They're going to put in their own wells.
Okay, well, that's what
with their own wells, which is going to decrease our revenue. So they're going to use the same amount of water.
Okay.
The same.
We did adopt a policy to encourage that behavior.
We did.
If this has a side effect of encouraging that even more, then I don't see why that's against our policies. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, let's expose it to more light.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know if a motion is required, but I'll make one that we bring this to the next step to the Civic Association, get more comments, more good discussion, and then reconsider it after the Civic Association meeting.
I know what I was going to say, that as water commissioners, we can always adjust the rates again. So if we find through the next couple of years that we have a great decrease in the demand for water and the revenues go down, then maybe we would adjust the middle tiers that we're not affecting. Right now, this policy says that 57% of the households in Katuitt would not experience an increase because they're below the 60,000, 60 or 80. Thank you. Right there. They're below the 60,000 level. So if we're losing money because of this and people are not using as much irrigation water to make up the difference, then maybe those tiers, the second and third tier up to 60,000 might have to be adjusted a little bit. So, we could go back and do that. I mean, I think that we can keep adjusting the rates until they're accomplishing what we want to accomplish. And this idea that everybody's going to rush out and put their own well in, we already have a policy about that.
Yeah, and they didn't do it. right? So, and you're right. I mean, continue to irrigate with
I
potable
I
water.
I did hear another misapprehension at this meeting that lots of little straws is going to draw down the aquifer as much as our 5 big straws. I really would encourage Scott to ask one of his students to make us a good computer graphic showing 5 big straws and the drawdown and the cone depressions versus 100 little pinpricks elsewhere out of zone 2, what effect that has on the sole source aquifer of Cape Cod. Waterfront estate at the end of Ocean View that puts in its own irrigation well is not affecting the aquifer of Cape Cod. It's just not. It's drawing from the same source, which is groundwater, but it's not affecting our aquifer. Is that true?
It's
Yeah,
not
there is-
affecting our drinking water wells is what it's not affecting. It's affecting our aquifer. You
Well,
can't
the
say it's
aquifer-
affecting the aquifer unless you define the aquifer as exclusive to public water supply.
I mean, I think the concerns we started with this was impacts on the Little River. And also Chris, I think, expressed some concerns at times that the water levels are getting down close to the screen. Is that right, Chris? At
Within
times,
a few feet, yes, we've had them down within a few feet, yes.
but that's probably the most serious thing. That's when we get no more water. Stops pumping. That's pretty serious. So, and that's the well, as you said, Mark, the well down Ocean Street is not going to affect Chris's concern about the well screen going dry. So maybe I can try to put some graphic together on this. I've heard this many, many times from a lot of people who, some of whom ought to know better, making these comments. So yeah, maybe some graphic would help. What we're really concerned about is the localized drawdown around the well and the river. And spreading it out is a good thing. That's the simplest way to put it. But I can try to provide a graphic to that.
Great, thanks.
Do you have a preference as to when you make the presentation to the Civic Association? In terms of timing?
No, I mean, anytime. I'm available. I'm only away the last weekend in March. So.
All right. I'll contact Carol about that if you'd like me to.
That'd be great.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other discussion on this? Any comments from our participants? From the public?
Yeah,
I
I
have
just want to
comment.
say something, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Chris, then
Okay,
Fran.
just from being with this last round of bills that went out, one day Jen wasn't there and I did get a phone call from one of the local well drilling companies to go mark out 2 different houses because they got their water bill and they were putting in an irrigation well. That last increase we did last January, this is when people are feeling it right now for this last bill that went out, because that's the highest time that we're using it. So I don't know how many Jen has put out there other than them 2, but it didn't take long for someone to get their bill before they call it. So that's it. Just for a point of reference and everything else there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Fran?
I just wanted to say, I think if you're going to have a civic association meeting about this, I think it would be preferable to either shorten the presentation or give a brief discussion and send that out to people so that they can look at it and think about it prior to the meeting. And that would, I think, generate better questions. My other comment is I think you seem to be wanting to use your income and your money from the water department in multiple ways. I'm not sure that that's going to be sustainable. I think as I told Mark, in terms of your very high users, my suggestion is to contact them and talk to them about how much they're using for their irrigation, and see if you can at least convince them to put water saving devices on or other things. Because if it comes to a point where people start putting in tons of wells and cutting you off, you're going to lose your income. And I don't think, Mark, honestly, that you can go around tweaking the rates, every other couple of years. It's really gonna frustrate people. And those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Chris. Any other comments at this point?
Brett?
So I remember that there were environmental benefits to encouraging people to install irrigation wells, that it helps contain, so I think if I remember correctly, it contains some of the nitrogen from the runoff from their septic system and fertilization. It basically sort of keeps it in a more contained area. And or do I remember that correctly?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's very good.
Okay, so there's environmental benefits to us, to the department, encouraging people to do this, right? So, and the second observation is that if someone installs a well for irrigation, then that means that, yes, there's a loss of revenue, but also the department's no longer paying for all that water to be treated to a drinkable standard, right? So it means your operating expenses go down along with your revenue. So, and I would also argue that, as the village population goes up, if there's conservation efforts and more water shifts away from irrigation being the system used for irrigation, that frees up more capacity in the system before, further capital expansion is necessary, like, pumping and storage and increased water main sizes and, all that jazz, right? So it seems like a win-win-win. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna move on in the agenda.
Superintendent's evaluation is next.
Yes, superintendent's eval would be great. So at our last meeting, I asked Superintendent Wiseman to put together some points that correspond to the evaluation rubric that we use. Have you had an opportunity to do that, Chris?
Somehow we lost Chris. Hang on, he's coming back in right now. And he did do that, and I neglected to include it in the packet. So he
Okay.
does have the information with him.
Perfect.
Okay,
Chris, we're
sorry.
moving into your evaluation.
Thank you. I just got bumped out. I just got back in. Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, I was out for a little while. All right, so we're there. My evaluation.
Got
Yes.
you. Yep.
All right. Let me see. You have the evaluation in front of you that has the structure there.
I will share it.
I can get to it.
Second. Somehow my document keeps closing. Okay, here we go. Again, it disappeared.
Yeah, I had it downloaded as well, and I don't see
Yeah.
it.
My PDF keeps closing for some reason. Okay, so here's the blank form. And like I said, Chris did do a completed version of it, and I neglected to include it in the packet. So
That's okay. So the first thing that's up there is no deficiencies in water supply or quality are recorded, and none were reported this year. The second under there is no significant, incident of contamination or degradations that are found go unaddressed. The only thing we really have is dirty water out there still, but they do get addressed as they come in. We do try to keep with the system flushing. All I can do is keep trying there. There were no equipment failures at all that were due to lack of maintenance. Security systems are fully functional now. And proposed budget submissions are timely and acceptable. Variance and budgets documents are approved. Yes. So in that first section there, those are my answers on there. I did fill this out as I was going, was a little afterwards. Under compliance, all department and environmental protection and Environmental Protection Agency regulations are met or exceeded and are being actively addressed to satisfy full compliance. Answer yes to that. All licenses, technical credit hours, self and staff are up to date, yes, and then some. Under personnel management, excuse me. Training and cross-training of staff are adequate to ensure appropriate coverage, yes, with help from the staff. Jen helps out there. Guys go cross-train each other. It's good. The employees' performance reviews are completed on time. Yes, they are on time. I finished them yesterday, so they're usually a little bit last minute. All disciplinary actions carried out promptly and are documented. Yeah, I have none to report this year. There were no display actions that were put out. Everybody did all right. All employees' performance issues are addressed ASAP right away. Let's see, under communication, communication with other municipal boards.
Mr. Chairman, I think
Yeah.
last time we've done each section individually instead of just reading the whole thing.
Yeah,
Is that
let's
how you
just
want-
let him go through his presentation and then I'm just making some notes for each of them. And then we can,
Okay.
rate him. Sorry.
Communication, you want to raise that up a little, Jen?
Mhm. Is that a landline?
Yes, and it's not usually good when that one rings, so. You gotta keep it for the grandparents and for parents and everything else. Under communications. With other municipal board, commissioners, committees, contractors, and regulatory authorities are adequate to produce the desired outcomes. Yes, all communications have been going well. I've actually had a lot more communication with the treasurer this year than in the past. We've been discussing more and more. So yes, everybody pretty good there. All interactions with ratepayers and the general public are done in a professional, respectful manner with no discrimination. Yes. Not only me, but my employees also. I received many phone calls, emails, notes on the employees I have, that we have, I should say, on all of them, on how good of the job they're doing out there. I think that kind of reflects the way I like it to be out there, and it reflects me also. We can go on to strengths and areas of improvement. You guys can talk here if you want. I just put down a little brag about myself and then don't brag about myself here a little bit. I got 35 plus years experience and knowledge of the system and 16 now plus years running it. I work well with others in all aspects, and which along saying like with the new projects that are coming up with Tom, we've done it's been a great time working with him. I think we've got a pretty good repertoire out there. One thing I will say, and I've said this so many times, is I probably need to work on my organizational skills and my filing system a little better. Thank God I have Jen for that to help me out. And I think one of the goals that I really like to do this year is get back to the basics a little. I had to actually go out, the guys all went to a class, and I had to go out and do the pump checks and everything else. And a couple of the equipment's brand new, and I couldn't figure out how to, I had to type the guy out and say, how many drops do I got to put in so I can get a measurement here? And it's a new kind of machine. It used to be, we used to shake it in a glass and stick it up to the light and see exactly how much of a residual we had. Now we drop to get the pH, we drop in a stuff called phenyl red into the system. It reads it automatically, and I didn't know how many drops to put in. I went to YouTube, and I couldn't find the right one on there, so I ended up finally texting one of the guys and he had to tell me how to do it. That was kind of embarrassing. So I do think I got to go back to the basics just a little. Under goals in the following evaluation period, I put to keep the department running smooth, keep up with emerging contaminants and new regulations, and assist with the water source protection project as much as I can.
Thank you, Chris. Any comments from other commissioners?
I think that's a very fair assessment, Chris. I wouldn't have any reason to quibble with it. The only I've been saving this until today. The only qualm that I have in the past year is, and maybe it's partly me, but I felt a little blindsided with the level 3 drought signs that we didn't have a chance to talk about before they went up and what they meant. And we discussed after the fact that people didn't really know what they meant. And we added the no lawn watering supplemental signs to it. I just, I think there should have been more of a heads up to the commissioners that we were entering that critical stage. And we could have discussed ahead of time what it meant. We could have come up maybe with a better sign from the first place instead of an add-on leading to Tom's pet peeve about more and more signs. Yeah, just if there are communications like that to the village, just a simple email to us, especially when it's basically a crisis situation, as far as I could tell. I think level 1, maybe that's just not a big deal, but I think that each one of these levels, we do need to tell people what it means, if anything, and not just say level 1 and expect them to know or go to some obscure website to find out. So that was my criticism, and I'm going to dock you 1 point out of 5 for communications because of that. I'm going to give you 5. I'm going to give you 5 on everything else, so don't worry about it.
The 1 through 3, I think.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But I would second that. I felt that was one area where you could use some work, and I think you identified that as an area that you could improve on. But Scott, do you have any?
I guess my only question is, and maybe you said this and I missed it, Chris, but could we revisit, or if you recall, what did you put down for goals for the next period from last year? Do we know that? Do we have that handy? Because it's always worth checking, what you said you were going to do last year, for this past year when we talked about this a year ago. Do you have a sense of that? And if we don't have it, we can.
I do not copy with me.
I can find it if you give me 1 second.
Of course you can, Jen.
Well, it was in last month's packet. So if I just find my email where I emailed out last month's packet, it will be in there. I just need 1 second to find it.
Well, while you're looking for that, I would concur with the comments from both the other commissioners, Chris. I think you do a great job overall. And I think the public communication thing is the one area which is very challenging for everybody. And so I guess I think what I'm hearing Commissioner Robinson say is, let us help you. Reach out to us. Give us a chance. Again, we have an English major here, a good one, a very good writer, a good communicator. And Tom and I are pretty good too. So let us help you with this stuff. I think that's the message.
I think it's also, Scott, just to expand on that. I mean, I feel like I approach my role at the commission as a layperson. And so when I think about, I'm driving around town, I say a sign that says level 3 drought. As a layperson, I don't know what that means. And
Right.
so I'm trying to approach it like other people, how they would respond to something. Because I don't have the information. Off the top of your head what a level 3 drought means. I don't.
I also think the flushing signs are confusing too. I don't think people get, and that's a tricky one to communicate. So maybe we can work on that this year. Maybe collaborate and try to make that both of those clearer messaging.
We'd also like to volunteer the Civic Association as well. If we can help you in terms of communication in the village, we'd welcome
That's
that.
Good idea.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Scott.
Sorry.
Jen?
I found one, from last year's evaluation, there was one goal of encourage and facilitate collaboration between district superintendents on the Cape throughout the BCWUA.
So that was a communication thing again.
Mhm. And to collaborate with the other district superintendents.
Yeah, which I do think is a good idea. Chris, can you just give us an idea how much of that you did this year?
Well, I will tell you that we didn't have any meetings again this year because of COVID. There was, they haven't really gone back to meeting monthly. I do attend meetings that are combined with Plymouth County, Barnstable County, and I am actually in April taken off to the conference I usually go to, which I see everybody there usually and talk to them there. So, and I did keep in touch and to let you guys, maybe, I don't know if you knew this, but Tom Rooney from Barnstable, who I talked to quite a bit, has just retired. And a gentleman by the name of Sean Anderson took the job, who actually applied with us a while back. Nice guy, he used to run Situate Water Department. And he actually used to run Buzzards Bay years ago. Very nice guy, and I've talked to him already out there a couple times. Other than that, I mean, I haven't had a huge amount. We do talk. I got a meeting March 2nd, a Zoom meeting with everybody to talk about the new lead and copper, just the superintendents are getting together to talk about that. So we do still take into communication, but usually I try to attend any meeting I can that's out there, any discussion and stuff like that.
How often does the Barnstable County Utilities Association meet?
They haven't had a meeting probably in 2 years.
Really?
A regular set meeting, correct. Right.
Well, I guess my only comment is I think this is an important thing because especially us being a small district, there's a lot, this is a complicated thing we're doing here. And I would encourage you to, maybe we should reiterate that goal would be my suggestion, because I think that's important. And if the Barnstable County Utilities Association isn't doing anything, maybe you need to bump it up to the Mass Waterworks. I heard Jen Peterson on the radio yesterday. I know they have a lot of things going on, but I do think staying in touch with others in the industry is important.
Yes, I have talked to Jen a couple times this year on the phone. Actually, I think you had me call her one time to assist us in something. And
Yeah.
she was give you a call, yes.
I think it might be just as a prompt on our agenda. We could have a standing item, Mr. Chair, that, topics that are being addressed by these regional or statewide bodies. So that we as commissioners and the public viewing our meetings have some idea what topics are being thought of as a region or statewide issue, like PFAS or something. It's important for us as commissioners to keep up as well. And I don't have time to go to Waterworks Association meetings, but I would like to have some kind of a brief thumbnail of what they're talking about. I think that would be useful.
It's an outstanding idea, Mark. Could you make that part of your superintendent's report?
I could, yes. Yes,
So
I can keep you up to date on what associations pushing or what right now. We do belong to American, Plymouth, and New England, Mass, and Barnstable County. So I mean, we were out there with all the associations. That's where we get most of our classes and our discussion on all emerging contaminants and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could just give us an update on all of that stuff as part of your report and make it a bullet point, that you add to every meeting.
So noted.
Okay. Any other discussion, commissioners? Shall we do the ratings? Standards 1 through 4, infrastructure management, safeguarding. I'll go out on a limb and say, I think he exceeded my expectations in his work there. Which,
give it a 3.
3 for me. 3 for Mark.
I'm fine with that. 3, yep.
3 for Commissioner Horsley. Compliance.
3.
I'm
3.
with you. I'm with you. All 3s. Personnel management. Thank
That's
goodness he's got good
3+.
personnel, huh?
3+.
Right.
Yeah, 4. I'm gonna give it 4.
Yeah.
It's gonna make up for my ding on communication.
Yes. All right. We'll stay with 3s right across the board there as well. And then the last but not least is communication. And I too think that you could have done a better job a little bit. And without wading into the weeds, I think you met the requirements for sure, but you could do some better work. And it sounds like we've got a plan to help you with that. So
2.
I would go with a 2 on that.
2.
2 from Commissioner Robinson, 2 from Commissioner Hoppenstead. Scott, did you?
Yes, 2.
2s across the board. So 3, 6, 9, 2
11.
is 11, which is
Sounds pretty good to me.
exceeds, right? Nice year. Once again, Chris, thank you for your work.
Thank
I
you.
don't think people really appreciate in this village how crucial this job is. I mean, it's the public health.
They appreciate it when it goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah. 35 plus years, 16. Are you in your 17th year of super now?
Yes, yes. Believe it or not, wow. I had to go back and look to see exactly when I got the job, and it was actually, I say 16 plus, it's 16 in 1 month. I was hired in January 2007. No, 2000. Well, Jen and I looked it up in the note. 6. Thank you.
Congratulations. Don't go away.
Thank you. No plans right now.
Thank you. All right, what's next, Jen? Budget?
Brett has his hand up.
Brett has a hand up. I don't know if you want to take that now or.
Brett, you have something quick?
Yeah, it's real quick. I just wanted to say that a couple of years ago, you know, our the neighbor behind me, the Pulsivers, had they had neglected to purge their irrigation system, and it broke off at the top, and there was a geyser in their front yard. And I panically, I called the water department, and it was well after hours, and Chris came right out and was super helpful and went above and beyond and shutting off their water and sort of digging into what was wrong and following up with them. I was impressed. That's all.
It's wonderful to hear, and I think that's consistent with all the operators, superintendent.
Yeah.
It trickles right down throughout the staff. It's been wonderful to work with you all.
I got a phone call, just to tell you about the employee. I got a phone call from neighboring superintendent, I believe it was yesterday, asking me if any of my guys needed one or were looking for a job, or if I had anybody I wanted to get rid of. And I said, "Are you kidding me? I finally found a bunch that I want to." He says, "Well, how can I get them from you? Because I've been trying to do it for a while."
Well, hopefully we'll pay them enough so that they don't steal them from you.
There you go. Right.
So next is our budget discussions.
Budget discussions. I would like to just start off the discussions by saying that my research, and I looked again today and received emails from people, including some of the people in the meeting, and for the cost of living, the COLA for this year through Social Security and other government agencies is 8.7%. So I think that's appropriate for all given the fact that what we're seeing with inflation. I'll just throw that out there, and then I don't know, do we want to go through line by line? Do we have time for that, Commissioner Horsley? Oh, he stepped away. I know he has another commitment.
We did a majority of that at the last meeting. The things
Yeah.
that changed are highlighted in bolds. The bigger topic for tonight is this and the 5-year cap plan.
Yep. Now, we do have all of our operators, and Jen, are you still within the steps for the office manager?
No, I'm at the highest step.
1, 2, 3. We only had 3. We set up 4 steps for that, right?
I
Right.
believe so.
All the employees have exceeded their steps at this point. Pay wise.
Yeah.
The pay that's in there is not, it would have
Yeah.
to be looked at again.
It's dated.
Correct.
We did this in 2018, as I recall. Okay. Commissioners,
So Mr. Chair, are you proposing a 8.7% increase across the board for all staff?
I am.
I'm sorry, what was the percentage?
8.7% increase.
And I'm sorry, Tom, I stepped away for a second. Is that tied to cost of living?
Yes, that's the COLA as published by the Social Security Administration.
That's the number?
Yeah.
Okay. Seems appropriate.
I would think that John is still within steps, but I don't know if he's got his licenses.
He's got all the licenses. I'll let you know that I did evaluations on all 4 employees, and all of them have exceeded expectations.
Yep.
They're all top notch. As you know, John has a T4 now and a D3. They're in training, but eventually he's also working on a degree right now in certain science, I believe, that might help turn them into full quicker than having to wait the experience time, I guess you want to say.
Yep.
You know, on the job training and everything. I don't know if last year you had me say a raise even without the cost of living. I don't know if you want to do that again this year. I can just tell you that the work that Jen's done on this billing software is unbelievable. The amount of time and effort, basically, she's done it with no help from really anybody. And it's going to give us a class A1 system out there. She was in 2 meetings today, during the day, just trying to get things so we can get online by, I think, the end of this week. They're trying to push for. So she basically, did a lot of the leg room there work, and everybody, JR taking on some of the different licenses for surveying. He's trying to get into the survey class right now. He's top notch with the stations, pump maintenance and everything down there. Matt with the sampling scheduled, A1, everybody's just stepping up so much, and I can't give them enough of the whole team enough thumbs up. Just to let you know, while you're talking about all that salary now.
I think last year, Mr. Chair, we did authorize or recommend some merit increases in addition to the fairly small cost of living. I think this year that the 8.7 it's a hefty raise in the sense of keeping up with the cost of living, inflation and whatnot. I don't think that we can add more on top of that this year. I think next year the COLAs may come down considerably, closer to 5 or 6, who knows, but we could probably revisit merits then. But I'm comfortable with a straight across the board 8.7% increase.
and the numbers that you're showing us here, are those current?
Sorry. So
Sorry.
this would be with the 8.7 COLA, this would be the suggested increase and what the final annual salary would be by employee. If I scroll over, you can see there.
Okay.
And again, I mean, we have plenty of so-called surplus revenue, but we also have to be mindful of, you know, the voters and the budget setters for the district, and so those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I would, I generally agree with that. I think the 8.7 is you know, a pretty hefty jump. Now, I honestly don't have a fix on how that's gone up and down throughout the year. I know some stuff did go up quite a bit and then it's come down. I just, again, heard a NPR report on it the other day. I think they were actually talking about Super Bowl food is where I heard it. The price of different foods went up and then down. So this is a little bit of a moving target, and I tend to agree with the comment. Although I do have a feeling myself in terms of my, you know, and I have to say, I don't interact with John, JR, and Matt as much as I like to. So I defer those judgments to you, Chris. But I got to say, I really feel, looking at the numbers here from my own experience with staff positions, I feel like Jen is a little bit underpaid, given what she does. I think she is a key person here. And I just feel like that is one place that we could include a merit. I just heard that she's at the end of her steps. So I would suggest that if we're going to make one merit change, and I almost view it as an adjustment more than a merit. I feel like the 70 is a little bit underpaid for what she does. She's really, in my view, a very important go-to person here that helps us all out. She's at the center of the works. She's very dependable. She's the person answering the phone and solving most of the issues. So I would just ask for some thought on her salary as an increase, a merit increase. And I don't have
Yeah.
a specific number in mind.
I agree with that. And after hearing Chris's, you know, assessment of all his employees, having evaluated them all recently in the last week, and when I see JR and Matt and John in the field and I see what they do, I think they're deserving of that as well. I know we gave Chris a nice, I think 15% increase last year on top of the COLA. And I would have no problem at all saying that, you know, John, JR, Matt, Jen ought to have an additional 3 to 4% merit, or just, hey, just keeping up with the times and moving forward with the department and their education and taking on the responsibilities that they've taken on in the past year.
And Mr. Chairman, I guess I'd add to that. I do want to thank them again for attending these meetings. I think that's really, you know, great that they take the time to do that and provide input. So I think that's a benefit as well. But I defer to Chris on that because I don't get to see these guys in terms of their actual in the field work. But all my contact is mostly with Jen and Chris, and they both do a great job. Like I said, like you just said, Chris had an extra bump last year, and I'm suggesting maybe Jen deserves that this year.
Chris, what do you think?
I think the guys and Jen have done, like I said, a super job. I can't complain about them at all. I'd love to see him get a merit. Last year it was a dollar figure. We didn't do a percentage. I don't know if you want to go that way and bump somebody up that way, or you want to go percentage right across. It's up to you. You guys set the salary. Yep.
I'd like to make I know Scott has to leave, Mr. Chair. I'm going to make a recommendation, a motion. You can vote it in or out or adjust it. That we apply 8.7 COLAs across the board. and that Jen receive an additional merit increase, so it equals $80,000 instead of $77,000.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to offer all employees an 8.7% cost of living adjustment on top of their last year's salary. And in addition to that, to add about, let's call it 3,000, $3,074 or whatever it is, $73 and a penny onto that to round it up to $80,000. The discussion that I would like to add is I would like to do similar to Matt, JR, and John. Because I do see those guys out in the field and we get nothing but compliments from them. And the COLA is that. It's a cost of living increase. It's a cost of living adjustment based on the fact that these guys can't, buy a house here. They can't afford to go on vacations. Everything's so expensive. And I think that they're well deserving. They've done an excellent job, and I'd like to see $2,000 or $3,000, call it $3,000 added to everybody's salary for that. So I would, if I could, adjust that motion to include our office manager and operators.
I'll second that as a amended motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to add 8.7 cost of living adjustment to all salaries from last year. In addition, the operators and office manager would receive an additional $3,000, 3,000 plus. Round them up. Does that make
Up to
sense?
what? You gotta be specific.
Round up Jen Nash to 80. Round up JR and Matt to
75,000.
I would say 76. And John to 58.
I'll second that.
Are you working your numbers there, Jen?
I am.
Was my
Oh.
mental math close?
I'll get you there. Two plus 8. Weird when you're working on a keyboard you're not used to working on. That's probably gonna get it. Yeah, I knew that was gonna give me a reference error.
Jen, be careful. I'm going to take my motion away if you can't get
I
this right.
know. Again, I'm working under pressure.
3,580, 79, 78, 26.
0.26. Nope. 3, not 5, 3.
3.
And you want the other ones at 75.
Yeah.
5, 4, 4.
What do you think? Chris? Is that
Does that say 58.3 or is that 58 that you want to put that at?
it's not too, yeah.
I think was the, right. That sounds good to me. I want to keep them.
I think it said 76.
76. Okay. Gotcha.
You did say 76.
Thanks, JR.
You're welcome.
Voice from the public.
All right, how's that look?
I think it's good. I think his motion's been made and seconded to move forward with that. All in favor? Any other discussion first? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. We didn't hear you, Scott.
I'm sorry, aye. Yes. Yep.
Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you guys for your hard work. Sorry we left you out on that one, Chris, but we're probably gonna catch a little heat for what we did.
We got them last year.
We did.
Right.
Okay, any other main budget items that we want to hit on before we lose Commissioner Horsley?
I bought myself till 7:15 for my other
Okay.
meeting, so I can hang around a bit longer.
All right.
So next is the
Good.
cap.
Here's the cost of living stuff, right? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. 551. See, now I've shorted them $40.
Water mains. Chris, you think that's sufficient? Station tanks?
I do have a question on that. I came from the other meeting I was in today. We were talking a lot about the lead and copper and primarily the lead replacements, Chris. I know we talked about this in the past, but I guess my question is, do these numbers keep us on track with the required lead replacement?
No,
issue?
not at all. That would have to be a special appropriation, I would say, and we have to make sure when we're gonna be doing that. That'll have to be a plan. That'll have to be a special appropriation where we're gonna ask for the funds to get them all done at once if we can, or if we know that I gotta do 10 a year, then I can add it in then, that I know I have to rely on, 5 hours for each one or something to that effect.
Yeah. Okay.
And that doesn't get decided until October of 24. So we'll be into fiscal year 25 at that point.
I mean, that might be another item that goes back to our stabilization fund, right?
Right.
Potentially.
Yeah, that could certainly go and be covered by the original one from 2019, which was designed, put into place to deal with unforeseen expenses as well as operations. I think we've only spent, didn't we buy a truck from that, Chris?
Correct. Yeah, we bought the Colorado with that funds.
Yep, and nothing else has been spent out of there, so there's
No,
should be a couple $100,000 in it.
I'd have to look. Ray just talked to me a couple weeks ago about taking a little of that if we didn't have any earmarked, about investing a little bit of it for the next few months or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but nothing into this operations budget.
No.
Okay.
A lot of this stuff, you just really can't do much about it. It's just the 8.7 that you were talking about, really.
Yeah.
Electricity, even though we're set for a certain price, things do go up.
Chemicals and fuel. See that here.
The only thing that's on here is that truck repair. The new truck's supposed to be here now, this month, but I still have not got any kind of guarantee that it will. So we gotta, we still have to maintain what we have and keep it running.
So you think that should go up?
Yeah, no, it's that's why it went up, I believe.
That's why it went up. Okay.
Yeah, instead of staying the same, even because, we do get more problems and everything else.
Yeah. Well, $700 doesn't get you a lot in a mechanic shop anymore.
No.
No,
Oh, I know.
breaks. It's the only one side, one end.
Your
We are
HVAC,
locked in. I think, Tom, I misspoke when I gave you the update for the PRUCOM meeting. We are locked in through June of 24. So that on the electricity rates, we increased it due to the pumpage more than the cost of the delivery. So that we'll have to look at that for fiscal year 25, but not for fiscal year 24.
okay. Legal and engineering, 50 grand.
That should be fine, even though, you know, we'll probably use a little bit if we're talking about this stabilization fund and stuff like that, but it won't be that much.
Okay. Training and education, we bumped that up pretty good last year, as I recall.
Correct. And,
Have
you
you
know,
spent? Have we spent that?
we have not spent that this year. I think there's only about $400 that's been out of it, $500. We have, because of all the associations we belong to and everything, a lot of the classes are free that we have a part of, and that's how we've been maintaining a lot of stuff. And whenever the training goes through, we've been lucky. Like John was a college student, so he got it for free through Cape Cod Community College or through Bridgewater State, I think it was one of those.
Yeah.
So he
Okay.
got to take a class for nothing, what normally would have cost us, you know, $900 just for one class. But we will be spending more. JR just signed up for, like I said, a surveyor's class, a cross connection surveyor's license, and I think that's like $600. So the money will be going. I don't think we'll spend the full 6,000, but everybody will stay this with the licenses because of a lot of the free classes and stuff.
Do you think we need 6,000 in there for next fiscal year as well?
Yeah, because I don't know, you know, a lot of the times the classes that are free, you know, we got lucky. I got contacted by Mass Rural Water, and they asked if I could find a place close to us or if we had any place to throw a class so they could stay on the Cape and do it. And I actually got in touch with Andy Marks over at Mashpee, and he opened up his little class room that he has over there, and they're throwing like 6 different free classes over there right in Mashpee, right next door. So actually, Jen and I are going to one next month, and I'm going to another one there next month. So it's nice that everybody gets to do it. And like I said, you know, it's things like that that happen. But you know, they might not have them here. You might have to go to Western Mass to take a class, and instead of that, you know, you could get one local for a little bit more money. So I'd rather keep the money there just to make sure that it's available in case that goes away.
Great. Other questions, commissioners? Other points of interest, Jen, Chris?
Next year, we'll have the full impact of the MuniLink conversion, which is why the computer/copier, it's actually software, our billing software, why there's an increase there. Hopefully, we'll recognize some savings in both the printing and the postage, because if folks enroll for e-bill at the rate I get phone calls asking if we have e-bill capability, hopefully we'll be able to save some printing and postage costs as well. And when they do elect e-bill, we can send an attachment with it, which will include the CCR. So we won't have to print as many or mail as heavy envelopes.
That's great. I don't think we need to vote on this tonight. I think it looks good right now. We voted on the salaries portion. I think the operations and management portion looks good. Do you guys, do we need to vote on this now? I know I have a meeting with Prudential later this month just to give them an update on where we are with this budget, this fiscal year, and then the following month will be to present our proposed budget. So we will meet prior to then.
Scott typed in the chat that he had to jump off for his other meeting.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay.
Tom, let us know when you're going to the ProCom. We'll go, I'll go with you too.
I think is that the 27th, Jen? That's
Yeah,
for that's just for this month to update them on where we are with our expenditures this year and revenues.
Yep.
And then their next meeting will be when we present the budget, which will be in
March 27th.
March. I think we increased the numbers in our source water protection. That's what inspired me to write up a stabilization fund proposal, which I'll work on that, try to flesh out the wording there. Looks
Can
like
you
we don't
see
have-
the 5-year cap plan now?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I'm looking at.
okay, good.
So there's really nothing on there for next year, other than septic system upgrades, wellhead protection areas.
And that's something that I got a meeting with an engineer tomorrow,
Okay,
and I don't know. I'd like to increase the size of a couple water mains in town.
yeah,
Right across the street from your house, basically, is a 2-inch line that runs from one road to the other. And there's like 5 houses, and I just got an application for a 6 to come off a 2-inch line that's old. And I'm starting to feel as though it's too much to be off of that line. If everybody came in and used the shower at the same time, there might be problems over there. I might start getting low water complaints. So if a fire flows and everything else, maybe drop a hydrant in the middle. I believe it's about 1,000 feet down the road, maybe. I'd have to look at it again. I was just looking at the map yesterday, and might drop a fire hydrant in the middle of it, just fire protection, so that everybody's okay over there. I'd like to increase over there, and I'd like to possibly eliminate some 6-inch water main and bring it up to 8-inch at another section of town.
I think those are great ideas, Chris. You're on top of that stuff, and we greatly appreciate that. But let's put some money in there for fiscal year 2024. So you said you got a meeting coming up with an engineer on that?
Yeah, I have an engineer that's gonna meet me Friday morning. He told me to right now think between $300 and $600 a foot for installation job, to be done right now. So I'd have to go out there and measure, and he can give me a little better as to what 8-inch ductile line's costing, the availability of it and stuff like that now. So whether it could even be done next year, or if we have to wait till the following year or something like that.
Well, let's start plugging away
Is
at
that
that.
Is it typically, Chris, something that does take a lot of lead time because of design, engineering, permitting? whatever?
Correct. Yeah, then we'd have to do a design plan for it, because we would be actually, keeping something live, then turn it over at the last minute, and then hooking it up. Kind of like we did with, usually what we've always done is wait, the town of Bosco's redoing a road, and we try to piggyback on them, and they pay for a lot of the stuff that has to be done, and we just jump onto their bid package or something like that and get it done at the same time. But right now, there are no plans into it for any different, there are plans for different roads to be paved. I get that every year, but there's nothing that any of these projects that I'd like to do, any of those jobs. So it would cost us a little more money to do it ourselves, but I think it's getting to the point where we should.
So maybe you want to spread it out over 24 and 25.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, maybe, do one project one year, one the next, it depends. Sometimes when you hook 2 together, you might get a better price than if you're just doing 1,000 foot job or something like that.
Right. Well, I just don't think we should rush it if it, just because we want to get some extra monies into 24 instead of 25, depending on how long lead time is, but
Okay, yeah.
that's up to you. I mean, if you can get it done sooner rather than later, great.
Yeah, I think that'd be great if you could put some numbers in there for us.
Okay.
For those replacements. And yeah, talk to the engineer about cost efficiencies. Certainly, we don't want people getting low water pressure.
Correct.
And having problems with mains. That'd be great. And the well cleaning and rehab.
Yeah, I
gonna-
did not, I had no suggestions for cleaning at all
Yeah.
the last year when it was done, so I have to wait. That's not usually due for another few months.
Okay.
They come to it, so they'll give me suggestions then. So if they do, then I'll go into the following year. But as of right now, not for next year.
Now, I thought we had money in there for that this year. For fiscal year three.
No, we had it for next year, but we moved it away because I hadn't had any,
Okay.
yeah. That's why it says
Alright.
100 instead of 50, yeah.
All right, cool.
And that probably should be 50, because I don't think they'd ask for 2 at the same time to be rehabbed, but I'll let you know if they do.
Okay. Excellent. Any other questions on that?
Nope.
So I think we're in pretty good shape with the budget. You feeling okay?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Okay. Good.
All right.
Good. All right, what's left?
We have 2 leak adjustment requests, and I'm just getting my screen together here. So 2 leak adjustments. 'Tis the season that we start finding all of these when the bills go out and they say, I couldn't possibly have used that much water. And in some cases, they're right. So this first one at 236 Papaneset had a leak, had Bortolotti come out and repair. Back at the beginning, it was spotted at the beginning of October, wasn't repaired until the beginning of December. They weren't living in the house after Labor Day. They included copies of their invoices. I've included a copy of their bill. So they did get it repaired. This was the bill with 259,000 gallons of consumption, where their normal usage is they're low. They're, you can see they're 13,000, 16,000, 23,000. So the beginning of this year was their highest usage. I suspect that maybe they even started to have the leak in the first 6 months of the year and didn't notice. Because that consumption wasn't really too far out of the norm for them, considering it was 30 the year before and 43. So I put together the request for relief. They're looking for relief. They're responsible for double their highest usage. That would mean that they could request relief on the 177,000 gallons. Should we grant that relief, their bill would then become $702.65, and the relief would be $3,960.35. Yeah.
Now, when they found that leak and they weren't there, say they found it in October, did they shut the water off? Did we shut the water off?
I was actually on that call and I responded to it. So when she called, I went over there and just went into her pit and shut it off there. And then she had Bortolotti come, I think, the following week or something like that to come repair it.
Yeah,
So
the
we know
invoice from
about it, we shut
Bortolotti
it
is
off.
dated November 1st.
So yeah, she contacted me on like a Saturday. I think we left it on overnight, so she still had water. And then I shut it off that Sunday morning.
Okay.
Well, I'd make a motion to relieve it. This is using our existing policy and the deviation from the previous high, I think, it's obvious. People moved in a fairly expeditious way to fix it. So I would move to grant this request as indicated.
I'll second that motion. We go ahead and provide this relief as outlined here in Jen's documents. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then one more, and this, I think Brett was referring to this one earlier.
Wow.
This is when this was a catastrophic leak. It was a leak in the line that runs between the house and the garage apartment. They discovered it based on some low water pressure in the middle of August. I thought it might be, they thought it might be because of the drought. And then we came out and checked on some things and turned it off at that point. And then they had a plumber kind of run a hose and do some temporary things until they were able to make the repair, put in a new line. And they're monitoring the usage. So then again, there's their repair bill that was done. Here's their
Mhm.
blurry statement of consumption. You can see that we actually replaced the meter as well. So it's not 189 and 209, it's the 189 added to the 29,000 on the old meter. So for a total of 209,000 gallons of consumption, where their consumption is never near that. They
Mhm.
did have a previous leak in an outdoor shower. We did not grant an adjustment at that time. I don't think they actually applied for one. The 103,000 would be their previous high annual usage, so double a 6-month period. So that's what I used for the criteria of providing the relief. 209,000 gallons, less what their previous high double usage was. Looking for relief on 106,000 gallons would make their bill $998.58 and provide $2164.42 in relief.
Looks good to me.
Move that we grant the request.
I'll second that motion. The request is granted as outlined by Office Manager Nash's calculations here. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And then the only other thing on the agenda is, Mark, you had said maybe Rick Burnham would join us about public education?
Yeah. I guess I
Or
got
not.
the name right. It was Rick Burnham, not Brett Dykman. I apologize. So anyway, he contacted me within the last month and said that he has some ideas to use his skills in, I think, videography and to help the district explain how it works, how water works in the district. And so I encouraged him to come to a meeting and describe that to us a little better. So I guess if he's not here, we'll ask him if he'd like to come some other time.
That's
No,
great.
I'm here.
Oh, you are?
Yes. Same Brett.
So it was you, Brett. I'm sorry. We had the
Yeah.
name wrong on the
I don't know where
agenda.
Rick Burnham came from.
It probably
Yeah,
came from me. I don't know. I don't think you made it up. Very interesting. I don't know how that's called the old game of telephone, right? Something's email. Anyway,
I was
so
curious
Brett,
who it was too,
thank
and
you for coming.
there is some dude in Barnstable who is named Bart Burnham, but I was a little curious myself. But
Funny.
Okay, so we have the right person.
yep, yeah, the right person. So the gist of the email was basically, hey, I have a background in some social media, some photography, some videography. And I support the billing change. I agree with the sort of social justice and environmental standpoints, and I was hoping that maybe I could contribute in terms of providing the department with some media to use for the village seems well attuned to Facebook, for example. Basically educate them as to what's going on, why this might be necessary, because my impression is that the operations of the department and the infrastructure are, you know, in some cases very, very visible. I mean, everybody sees the tower, but I think everybody walks by the tower and goes, "Oh, look at that giant tower. It's full of water. Everything's fine." Right. And I remember I was at one of the meetings, you know, I think it was the last one, Chris. I remember Chris commenting about how, you know, he came in one morning in the summertime and, you know, in one of the pump houses, and the pumps were, you know, screaming away, you know, at full tilt, trying to keep up with all the demand from, you know, all the irrigation systems, and I'm sure everybody's showering and whatnot. But you know, I don't think nobody sees that except for Chris and his guys. And that might help sell people on the conservation aspect. The other thing that I had suggested was that, you know, I have a background in information technology, and we have there's a lot of tools for data collection, visualization, that, you know, are widely used in our industry. We love visualizing things. We love analyzing data. We love figuring out performance metrics and stuff like that. And a lot of it's web accessible. And, you know, depending upon how Chris's systems work, maybe there's some way to make some of that data available live for, you know, either to put on the web page, or, you know, something to make available to villagers so that they can see, you know, basically you can see what's going on. You know, is the water tank really low? Oh my gosh, wow, look at that. Wow, I better not, maybe I should go shut off my irrigation system today, you know, things like that. And the final idea was that if it was possible to get some data out of the system, that perhaps in collaboration with some high school or college robotics students, and I know there are a couple of teams that are in the area, there could be some sort of outdoor signage that showed the status. You know, like you walk by the water tower and you think it's all full of water. What if it's only really half full? You know, maybe people being able to actually see that would have a positive impact on conservation efforts. So that's the very, very long elevator got stuck on the way to the first floor elevator pitch.
So Brett, these are some ideas that you're offering as a volunteer, or?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. You know, to me, the best visual of all would be to have a camera go in at 5 a.m. on July 28th and just record the noise of the pump going hammering away, sucking up all the water it could do it to fill those 2 tanks. I mean, it's to have it described is one thing, but I have stood in one of the well stations with Chris, and it's hard to hear yourself talk above the noise of those pumps, and you realize how powerful they are, and you know how crucial they are to be well oiled, if nothing else. But I think also, you know, just people understanding, you know, what kind of treatment do we do here? We do something. What is it? What do we do here? We're not just giving raw water away. And I think there's a lot of things that you could visualize. We have something called a lime tank, and I don't know how unique it is to it, but I think Chris, you said it was almost invented here, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, it was patent here. Built patent. There's a patent on it, yeah.
So I mean, that's something unique about Katuitt and its history as a water supplier. And I like the ideas. I think that I'd be happy to help in whatever way I could. Brett, you should also know, if you don't, that Tom is an educator, used to standing up and people and talking for a living, and so he would be very good on camera if you had something that needed to have some talent, on-air talent with.
I like how you just volunteered him.
He doesn't have enough to do now, so.
The hazards of being a water commissioner, I guess.
Yeah. Which are gonna run out in May. So.
So we need to get you
But
soon.
I love the idea of some assistance with communications. As you heard in our discussions, we're pretty good about pretty much everything we do. And we still feel that we fall short with communicating to the public, or maybe we don't fall short. Maybe we're just not getting it in the right venue and out there well enough. So certainly we'd love some assistance with that.
I'd like to see
We have-
a
I mean-
dashboard. Sorry.
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, but it's fairly passive. I'm not, that's not a criticism. I mean, we put things on there when we have to. We don't do anything that's really exciting or interesting. It's just information.
I've noticed that the fire department has amped up its social media activity, and that the Katuitt the village Facebook group has noticed, and they seems like the village Facebook group members tend to amplify whatever they see coming out of the fire department, for example. And I think the water department, when it's posted, has also gotten some their posts reshared on the group, and it does seem to have a decent amount of reach. It was a neighbor's septic system pump failed and was blaring its alarm, and it took a village, but we found the people involved pretty quickly. So word does get around via that. I guess the other thing was perhaps seeing if there were opportunities to leverage some of the tools that are available in the IT world to help monitor and make available to visualize some of the information about the system. I know nothing about the industrial automation side, so I have no idea what's even possible.
Well, it would be nice to have it something that wasn't too draining on the already busy staff, to the extent that commissioners can volunteer some time. But obviously, if there's a need for requesting information, that would fall on the staff.
Yeah, my only concern is security issues and everything like that, what we do, and that would be my only concerns, really. I am not opposed to giving out information. Everything's public knowledge, or public information out there. I just I'm not sure how far we want to go into constantly monitoring the water tank and saying that right now it's most vulnerable or something like that. Just in a security point, I guess we'll
Sure.
say.
I think that you would find that most IT people tend to be on the paranoid side. So I 100% appreciate your concerns there, and I tend to make an effort to be hyper aware of. I appreciate this is critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
So 100% on the
I
same.
have a lot of data as far as pumpage and, days, highest days and consumption, and a lot of spreadsheets I can share.
I also asked for a dashboard. Just key metrics, keep it simple. I'm not going to be a water specialist, no desire. You guys are doing a great job. However, if somebody said to me, water is pointed in this direction, this flow, good, bad, fair, and indifferent, the simpler the message makes it easier for me to understand what's happening.
Well, Mr. Chair, in the interest of time, we've all been here almost 2 hours, but could we maybe, if Brett could submit like some bullet points about things that, or maybe just a trial or experiment of something that he'd be particularly interested to begin with, and instead of doing too broad a brush here, just something specific and concrete but simple, and think of ways to present it, the different media, the different tools. I'm thinking we're coming up into the spring. Just a 1 minute video about flushing and what's that all about? Why are we doing it? How does it work? Why is water gushing out over the ground? I thought we were trying to conserve water. Why are we doing this? I mean, I think just a 1 minute video with somebody talking at a open fire hydrant would be interesting.
I know that in the past, there's been a lot of grousing in the Facebook group about, people were like, oh, my water's brown, blah, 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 what's going on? Why? And so everybody else is like, didn't you see the sign saying it's flushing?
Yeah, but they don't really understand why we have to flush.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why flushing makes your water, turn colors. So that would be,
It's really not a big deal.
that would
Yeah.
be a good jump off point.
So I guess I would say, Brett, it's kind of up to you to bring us some kind of proposal of what you're interested in, and then if it works and everybody's happy, we do more.
Okay. In terms of I don't know what the sort of workload is for Chris and his gang. It sounds like I don't know how busy things tend to be, but it sounds like what's the sort of availability over the course of the next couple of months in terms of taking on some sort of or being available for some sort of project like this.
I think that depends on the number of hours you're looking to take people away from what their primary responsibilities are, Brett. And I guess that goes back to Mark's suggestion is maybe you put together a proposal of what you'd like to do.
Okay.
And then, Chris could address it, or we could address it, see if we've got the time for it. Jen's got lots of data. Chris has got huge amounts of knowledge. JR's a flushing aficionado. He's like tuned in, right? So, we have the people, but the people have jobs. So,
Yep, absolutely.
but again, communication is something that I think is key, and I think Mark hit it on the nose with the example with the flushing thing. It's like people don't know what that means. They don't know what a level 3 drought is. They don't understand all of the intricacies of the water department, nor do I. So I think it'd be great to have something. So if you'd like to put together a proposal, and we'll work with you with it.
Okay.
Right, and if you need to get together at some point to, anytime if you want to be drove around, see what we do, what we have, give me a call 1 week, and if it's I want a downtime, I can give you a ride around and show you around a little bit. I've done that in the past for other people who wanted to actually see what's happening. You might have to stand outside the pumping stations because only employees are allowed in there, but I can point things out to you.
Okay.
Can I add one thing to this too?
Yeah.
I think this would be a great idea for our conservation, or not the conservation, but like the drought levels, explaining like a 1, a 2, and a 3. That way people aren't just getting sent to mass like DEP website. They actually have someone in town working, maybe explaining in simpler terms too, of what's going on with the droughts and what they can do to help help us out with it.
Great idea. Thank
And
you.
on a bigger scale, and it may not be my place to say, but even on a bigger scale, the district doesn't have IT support at all. We all use outside vendors for all of our IT support, and we don't have anybody that does marketing and public relations other than the employees of the district. So this may even be a consideration for the Prudential Committee at a larger level to add a part-time role to the district that, again, not my place to say, but maybe the Prudential Committee would consider some IT and marketing support or public relations support for the district.
I had back before Chief Rude left the department. He and I had actually had a brief conversation right actually as COVID was starting to become a thing. And I said, hey, do you have any do you need any help with any IT stuff? And he was like, kind of, yes. And we were just starting to talk about that sort of stuff, and then COVID happened.
Yeah,
And I helped out a little bit with some of the changes to the district website just to get some COVID related information up there, because Pete was firefighter Pete was trying to figure it all out and was kind of scratching his head a bit about it. And so we worked a little bit on that, but yeah.
Great.
I would always be happy to advise the committee. I have 20 years roughly worth of IT experience, and I'd be happy to advise and also connect people with. There's an area technology council that has an infrastructure committee, and they take a pretty broad interpretation of infrastructure as a word, and might be able to help out, connect you guys with some resources there as well. But if you're getting a contract from whoever you're getting, computer equipment from, you just want somebody to take a second look at it and tell you, give it a sniff test. I'm happy to do that sort of thing, and, and so on and so forth.
Thank you. Thank you for your community service offers. Perfect. Appreciate it.
Great.
Okay, we need to
Thank you for making time.
Sorry, what was that?
I said, thank you for making time. Yeah, as you said, you've been at this for 2 hours.
thank you for hanging in.
Yeah. And we need to set another meeting for next month, for March. The third Wednesday is the 15th. Are you, did I hear you're going to be away, Mark?
The end of March,
Okay.
but just a long weekend. Let me see, with 15th, I think I have something. No, it's the 16th. I think the 15th is okay.
I want to do one more Zoom and then maybe resume
Yeah.
in person in April.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very punny.
Haha.
All right, 5:45 Zoom. on
5:45 Zoom,
All right,
March 15th. Did we get through everything?
Yeah, I can read my report next month. Like I said, there was nothing
yeah.
there at all.
Thank you.
There's really nothing to report. There was no services. There was the truck's not here, the VFDs aren't here, and the normal drought was really the only thing. And I was just going to tell you that actually we are starting to flush next month. So sometime in the middle of the month. So maybe by the meeting, we might be starting to flush that week. As long
Okay.
as the weather holds out, we'd like to get going. JR mentioned to me that starting a little early really helps, because a lot of the landscaping hasn't been, we'll say, groomed to the point
Yes.
where water can hurt it a lot. Yeah.
Good. All right. Thank you.
I'll give you levels next month. And we can
Perfect.
go. All right.
Good.
All right. On that note, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Both commissioners agree that we should leave our meeting tonight, and all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And it's been wonderful. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks.
Thanks all.
Hope you had
Have a
good
nice
time.
night.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, guys.